Welcome, everyone. Um, Another edition of Torn. And this week, obviously, we have new panelists. Um, so we're gonna get started, guys. And you know what? I forgot to tell you guys to do this. If you can't remember these things, then get you a pen and piece of paper, and write it down. I'm gonna ask you guys a question, and well, it's not really a question. Well, yeah, it is. But what I want you guys to do is the first thing. You introduce yourself and we'll tell your name and what it is that you do in theater, uh, where you're from, and your nationality. So we are going to do ladies first. So Edith, we will start with you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Edith Berry, and I am the host and producer of an online production called The Show Must Go on Prolific Epic Partners. And it's a virtual online production that I do once a month. And my nationality, I am an African American woman.
Where are you from?
I reside in Raleigh, but I am originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, and Edith, the question. My girl is here. Okay,
Yeah,
calm
you can
down.
like
I'll get to you in a minute.
I'm in sweatshirts and everything.
Well, okay, this is informal. So, all right, just hold on. I'll get to you in a minute. I have to repeat it. Edith, what do you do in theater? You plug in your show. What do you do in theater?
I am an actor and a dancer as well. I do both.
Okay, I appreciate that. So, Sean, we're gonna go directly to you. We're gonna do ladies first. So the question is, tell your name, what you do in theater, where you're from, and your nationality.
Okay, well, my full name is LaSharn Hopkins. Everybody calls me Sharn, so please call me Sharn. I am an actor, writer, director, and producer. I write for stage and film. I'm an acting coach. I coach actors on auditions for television, film, and I help students who want to get into secondary education, actually trying to get a BFA or trying to get into theater school. I love theater. Theater is my life, but I'm enjoying film now. I am from Columbia, South Carolina, and you see my ethnicity. I'm a light-skinned African-American woman.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to Michael. Your turn.
Hi, my name is Michael Parker. I am in theater. I am an actor. I guess, now a director, and formerly a fight choreographer. And let's see, I am in Raleigh, but I'm originally from Southern California, and my nationality is I'm an American.
I love it.
Thank you. All right, and Jackie, last but not least, Mr. Alexander, go ahead.
Hey, Jackie.
Oh, Sean, some couth, just a little. Go ahead, Jackie.
I'm being informal. I'm from the South. I'm from South Carolina. Okay, I'm sorry.
Jackie Alexander. I'm the artistic director of North Carolina Black Repertory Company, producers of the National Black Theater Festival, based here in Winston-Salem. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I'm African American.
Okay, now the reason why I asked you this question is what we're going to talk about this evening, and it's about programming. We all have been programmed in this country. All of us. It's not one race over another. We've all been programmed. And one of the ways I feel we have been programmed is I asked you your nationality. Now, from what I've seen on online, when I look up the definition, the nationality is the country, an area that you're from. So if that is the definition that we go with, then there was only one person up here who just told me their nationality. 3 other people told me their heritage and their nationality. But only one person told me their nationality. That was Michael. But everybody up here was born in this country. You're an American. Now, you don't have to. It is a proud honor to say the African part. But to be honest, you're just as much an American as he is. But I had a nephew that stopped me there, and he dealt with my programming. He said, technically, someone from Mexico is an American. Someone from Canada is an American. Someone from Brazil is an American. Because America is a continent, not a country. But our programming has us feeling so bougie that not only do we do it, but you go over to other countries and other continents and you say American, they automatically think of United States. Automatically. They don't even think of the other places. But there's a North America and a South America. Why did we feel like we could take on the name of the continent for us? I don't know. But that's how I want us to go tonight. So let's have some conversation. All right. Because y'all sitting there looking at me like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. So let's have some conversation. Sean, since you want to, your mouth is loud. Let's start with you.
Oh, no, you don't bring me out like that in front of company, except for Jackie. And Jackie knows how I am because I love theater. But look, don't bring me out like that. Yes, there is some programming, but the programming really has to start not with America, but the perception that the Europeans have. See, America took on the role as being a superpower when it got into World War I and World War II. And then, you know, the sad thing about it is you have to look at it from a standpoint of where we came as Blacks. I had this conversation with someone. I said, you know what? I looked at my birth certificate. And yes, I live in South Carolina. My birth certificate said I was a Negro. My oldest son, who was born in the 80s, his says Black. My youngest son, who was born in the 90s, says African American. And I'm curious to see if somebody who was considered a baby boomer, I haven't looked at my parents' birth certificate, if it's colored. So these are things that have been programmed in, even to the point where we're taking on African American. I'm gonna be honest, I know nothing about Africa. I am an American. I have people that they've done tests to show that we're Indian, not Cherokee. Everybody thinking in the South, you got Cherokee Indian. Found out that we have white in our family and we have Black. But, you know, I'm feeling like this. I'm starting to come unplugged from the matrix. And I'm starting to not think about terms of colors and things like that. I know I'm light skinned. I know I'm Black. I know people of my ethnicity identify as African American. So I don't see myself as being programmed. I see myself as the older I get being enlightened about what society is and who I am. I think it needs to start with me and you as a person to say who we are and define who we are and then take it out from there. Okay?
Okay. Yes. But that is not what I was going to ask you. But since you started it that way, let's go around the room. Let's think about the programming. Michael, what is your thoughts on what on that?
Oh, okay.
The first question.
The programming as I'm sorry, I got so caught up in what Sharon was talking about. I'm distracted. So could you please summarize the first question for me, please?
So I was saying that I feel like that's programming, and Sean, in a way, kind of says she's enlightened now. If I'm correct, Sean, tell me. So in my mind,
all the way, I'm being enlightened the more I live and grow and educate myself.
So in my mind, not coming from her, but in my mind, she is deprogramming herself from what society has taught when we were younger. What is your take on the fact of what I just said by saying we're Americans? And wait, hold on, we're actually not even. We can't even take that term. We don't have a United Statesians in this country, you know. So,
True.
What are your thoughts on that?
All right. Of the numerous countries in the two continents, North America and South America, only one country has included the name America in the name of the country. So I don't see a conflict with that. Although it does, I can see how that is going to affect people's perceptions of an entire continent when you have the one superpower on those two continents named the same name as those two continents. It's going to be easy to lump all the other countries, either forget about them or kind of lump them all together. So I can see that. Okay. And trying to remember everything you covered. As far as the identification, identifying myself as an American, this may be sound confrontational. It's not meant that way. I'm actually opposed to hyphenating American, and I'm all for embracing one's culture, one's heritage, the history of your family, where you come from. I take great pride in, or fascination in, my English heritage, my Scottish and Irish heritage. There's some Viking in there, some other stuff. I love it. There's a whole little Cherokee. That's really cool. I love that. But I think by focusing on those differences between us, we do exactly that. We separate ourselves. We focus on the differences between us rather than focusing on what binds us together and what we share. So that's where I try to focus my attention more than anything else.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
And since you pointed me out earlier, because
yes,
I'd hate for that to sound like, why can't you be more like Michael? As far as the nationality question, I'm cheating because I heard your show before, so I've heard the question.
He knows, y'all. Okay,
yeah,
he already knows. Okay, I'm not answering that. Okay, okay. Look, now that I know he's cheating, that makes it even worse, right? How you gonna just? Okay. Anyway, all right, Edith.
Yes.
No, not that question. Nope, I'm moving on. That's enough of that. That's enough of that one. Nope. Y'all ain't gonna get me this time. No. My question to you is, I got a question, actual question. We'll go back if we have time for that one. My question.
Let's go back.
Well, we will later. Not right now. I want to get on to something. Your thoughts on the shooting of and I've heard 3 different ages, the 15 or 16-year-old young lady in Ohio. That's it. That's the question.
Oh, wow.
What, Edith? My thoughts? Okay, I gotta reprogram myself because I was getting ready to answer the other question. That's I guess it's challenging right now because we just kind of embraced the verdict that happened 2 days ago, and then all of a sudden this is happening. I don't know all of the particulars. I just kind of basically heard it on the news. But again, my concern is that nothing has changed. And I'm just looking at, if we're looking back in history, looking what happened today, what happened the day before, last year, to me, systemic racism, it is still rampant. It is still going on because there's another way that it could have been handled other than shooting them to death.
Can I say something on that one?
Sure.
My son is a deputy sheriff, and he's 27 years old. And of course, he's Black, African-American, whatever. He became a deputy. He got his degree in criminal justice because he wanted to make a difference in society. And I talked to him about it. And in their training, they weren't trained how the guy who murdered George Floyd. But when they're sworn to protect our communities. That's what they take an oath for. And if anybody comes at them with bodily harm, or they're trying to protect a citizen. And in fact, this bothered me because he told me, he says, Mama, because I'm a deputy 1, even if I'm off duty, I always have to carry my service lock. And if anything happens, Like if somebody does anything to a grocery store, or anything that we've been seeing, he says, I have to intervene, because if they find out I'm a deputy and I didn't do anything, then I can be charged and lose my job.
That's right.
And I think people, I don't like the term defund the police, because we're going to need some kind of law and order. We're going to become like the purge. But there needs to be a way to train them better, because when the thing with George Floyd first happened, my son was still in training. He says, Mama, this is how we do people. But they are trained to shoot to kill, because it's either they can come home alive or they can die. And that it makes it hard for me, because on the flip side, I actually have an arts rehabilitation program in a maximum security prison that's predominantly Black. And, he applauds me in that, but it puts me kind of in the, I feel like I'm in the middle, because I have some very close friends that are activists. And then here I got my son that I pray every day comes home safely, because I'm afraid somebody will hurt him because he's a law enforcement and he chose to do this. Or I'm afraid that he could get caught up trying to protect somebody, and then he's on the news. And I ask people to think about not only the injustices, but what if you had someone very dear to you that chose to do this? And I mean, that's something, I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I'm trying to process this in my mind about, George Floyd was a cut. I mean, the man did murder. That was murder. But with this one, with somebody coming at somebody with a knife and you're calling the scene, it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because if you don't stop the situation, they kill this girl, then you didn't do your job. But if you do your job, you murdered this girl. So I know, Juan, you brought this question up, so you opened up. This is something I've been thinking about all afternoon. I mean, Jackie and Michael, and I mean, what do y'all think about that? I mean, it's just, it's a flip side for that, because you got a lot of African American or Black people who are in law enforcement, and it's not just a check; it's what they want to do. And I was going to
go to Jackie and say, Jackie, have you seen the video?
I have. And to speak to the whole event, it's heartbreaking anytime a 16-year-old loses life. I mean, that's heartbreaking. There are many aspects about that video that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for me to see an adult man kicking a young girl in the head. What happened there, I think, is very different.
Yes.
I think it's just hard for the African American community to accept, would this have happened if it was a white group of white kids? But as far as what the policeman did, and from what I've seen, if that's my daughter, I want him to stop her. From what I saw in the video, the girl was about to stab this young woman.
Yeah.
And we don't have, he didn't have the time to process and think, and what are my, it's a split decision. So training, definitely, overall, the police need more training. But in this situation, from what I've seen of it, I'm not sure what options he had. And if that's my daughter who was about to get stabbed, I want the policeman to do his job and stop the attacker.
All right. And then let's jump back to January 6th, when we had the insurrection, that with all of that melee that was happening, and with the attack on the Capitol, and they were attacked, and one of the cops and others got killed. It's the same thing, and that's what the community is looking at: how it's approached, how it was handled. Numerous people have said that if it was all Blacks attacking the Capitol, there would have been bloodshed, and that's the difference. I would like to also interject about my own son, who lives in New York. This happened a long time ago, but I'm looking at 1991 and I'm looking at 2021. My son was accused of jumping the turnstile in New York City, the subway, while he was waiting for my mother to get her senior citizen pass. And they were about to put handcuffs on him until my mother came over and asked what was happening. And she says, no, my grandson was waiting for me. Why would someone jump the turnstile in New York City and stand there and wait for someone to arrest them? He would have ran off, which is what they usually do. I've seen people jump the turnstiles. I've seen them going through without paying a token, but yet he was about to be arrested. And my mother created so much ruckus that another officer came over and was trying to separate my mom from him, because my mom could have been arrested, even though she was a senior citizen. And they said, well, we'll just take it to transit court. When it was taken to transit court, not the civil court, but transit court, they threw it, the judge threw it out. The officer did not show up, and they didn't have any probable cause of him jumping that turnstile. But had my mom not been there, my son would have had an arrest record. That was 1991. When I came home from work and I was told what was happening, because I had my mom and her friends know Al Sharpton personally, they can say what they want. I was ready to call Al Sharpton to get on it, but it was handled. And my mom said she didn't want me to take off from work. My mom went to court with my son. So these are the things that are happening. So 1991 is no different than what's happening in 2021.
Okay, you brought up something, Michael. January 6th.
Okay.
Okay. Civilian wise, one woman is shot. What was your first impression when you first saw it on TV?
I actually never saw it on TV.
Oh,
So I never
okay.
saw any of the videos. I did hear about it. I don't watch television for the most part. So, hearing about it, in the moment, most of what I heard was various tweets and so on coming out of Congress, a few snippets out of the news, but I wasn't really able to follow it live. My thoughts were, I was embarrassed. I was angry. I couldn't understand how this came about. Beyond that, my thoughts in the moment, I mean, I was disgusted.
Okay. Okay. Jackie, your thoughts on the same day, and did you see it on television?
I did.
Okay.
I was not surprised. I agree with Edith. If that had been Black people, there would have been a lot more bloodshed. It's not new to our country's history. It was at the Capitol, but it's not new. It represents a growing hatred in the country, this willingness to. I was also, as Michael said, disgusted, hurt, disappointed. Even though I wasn't surprised, I was incredibly disappointed and saddened by it. So the whole gamut, it's a lot of emotions from hour to hour as you watch it. There were moments of disbelief. Even though I wasn't surprised, there were still moments where you're like, really, is this happening? But if you had watched the news in the days leading up to it, the end result could not be that much of a surprise.
So let me ask you, you said you kind of just answered it, but you said you're not surprised. Why would you not be surprised? I mean, I honestly, I know why, but tell the people watching.
Because that pot had been boiling for months. And the flame was being turned up every week. So eventually it was going to boil over.
Okay. Sean, I got a question. He said this is not new. Why is it not new in your mind? And what do you think he meant by it's not? What happened was not new?
Because even though we had the emancipation, we still had Jim Crow. We still had segregation. Even though we had integration, I'll say I'm the child of integration when integration started. But it was like, how can I say, some of us knew where our place was and, felt like we got a little bit here and there and we were getting somewhere, but the racism was still there. It just wasn't out in the open. And then as each year and as each president, and I should say the last one we had, he was so open with what was brewing in some people's hearts that was already there. And he was just so in your face with it. They felt like they had a free pass to do it. So no, this is nothing new what happened. It's just, it was a volcano that was going to erupt anytime. It just came out, and that was years and years and decades of suppression of what people thought. They thought that when Lyndon B. Johnson passed all of the Voting Rights Act, they thought that the welfare. I'll never forget when I was working in public health and I was at a retreat and somebody made the comment, it was blind comments that I'm tired of paying for them on welfare. And I got so indignant about it because I said, look, I was only making $9,000 a year back in the early 80s. And I said, I went to try to get some assistance to supplement what I was making for a child and myself. And they told me I need to basically quit my job so I can get assistance. Now, if you don't tell me that's putting people into compartments, they've even destroyed the homes because everybody on here, and if you haven't seen Claudine, you remember Claudine, where when the welfare lady was coming, they had to hide all their stuff and they couldn't have a man in the house. Even with Good Times, when they killed off James, and I'm putting it all in the entertainment, it has been a systemic blind, I'm gonna say it again, the Matrix, putting everybody to sleep with subliminal messages about this is how you're supposed to be, we're taking care of you, when that is not true. And all of a sudden we get a president in the highest job in the land to say it's okay to come out with what some of these people were thinking. So no, this is nothing new. And it was shocking. I was shocked. I was at work. And this was funny, not funny, but funny, strange. I was the only Black in that office. And nobody would hardly speak to me, but the director, he came out of there and he said, they're tearing up the Capitol. And I was like, what? And I started getting on my phone, but I wasn't surprised, but I was shocked that they were that bold, but I shouldn't have been shocked. As a friend of mine always said, were you really shocked? I was, but then I wasn't, because it was a volcano that was ready to erupt.
Okay. Thank you. Edith, I'm going to pay for this, I'm sure. I'm going to let you go back to the first thing. Do you remember what you were going to say?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Edith, you got 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes, Edith. 2.
I have to concur with what Sean said because I wholeheartedly agree. But I have to give the background about my family that my grandfather did share about. My great came from Africa. And a lot of times the griot that our storytellers always tell the story so that we can remember. So when I say that I'm African American, yes, I know my nationality. I was born here in the United States of America. But in order for me to tell my son, my grandchildren, that they know their lineage, they know their heritage, they have to know that our forebears came from Africa. So I say it so that that's a part of my lineage for them to understand. So that's why I did research and study I looked at my background. I looked at the census. I looked at how far back. Some of the things was oral translated to me by my grandfather, who's no longer living, and my mom as well. They have given me the heritage, and I pass it down on to the family.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question, Edith. Okay, so when I say what I say about either saying American or United Statesians, I'm not talking about your family, and I'm not talking about denying what your heritage is. I'm really talking about when you go out here for this job and you see the application, or you're doing something in college, and it asks you, or let's go even further. Or when when you go take the COVID test to see if you got it at one of these drive-through places, and they ask you what your nationality is. They have African American, they have Native American, and they have all these others. Why can't I just check American? Anybody? Any of the four of y'all?
Well,
why can't I just check American?
On my card, it didn't say that. It just had black or white.
Okay, well, let's say it had. So let's say it has. Why do I have to check out? Why can't I just check American? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I had a coworker who was darker than all of us who are black or African American on this call, but she couldn't check. But the EEO officer called her. She didn't check black or white. She said she says I'm actually a Latina because I came from Honduras. You can't see what's happening is we got people putting people in boxes, but that's just how society is. You have to go back, you got to know who you are inside first. Because even though you may have to go into, you got to get a job because you got to have money, you got to be able to eat and survive. But you got to be able to know at the end of the day, you might see me as a black woman coming to a job. But, when I walk out your job, I know who I am. I'm beyond being just a black African American or whatever you want to call me. I know who I am, and that's where a lot of that needs to start. And a lot of people don't know that.
And understand, when I'm asking you guys these questions, I don't expect you guys to have the answer. This has been in your life for your life. I just want you to think about it. Now think about this. Charlize Theron is from South Africa. She can actually check off African American and technically be correct. Now, I'm not saying that again, Edith. I'm not saying no, you wrong. No. It's thinking. I want you to think about that. Charlize Theron, and we all know what Charlize Theron looks like. She can actually check along beside you, check African American, and if they decide they want to give an African American a job so that they can say they gave an African American.
I think Juan is frozen.
I think Juan is
okay,
frozen.
It's just him. No one else is moving. Is it me?
He has a very good point, y'all, because if you think about it, I did a presentation on what is black. And nobody thinks of Australians, that they have a group that's black. Some Indians are black. Yeah. I mean, we got to get beyond the colors. And I don't have the answer to that. Maybe Jackie or Edith or Michael, y'all do. But when I did this slide for Vacation Bible School about what is black, dealing with colorism and even racism, when I showed that slide from black from across the world, it was like, whoa. I mean, I think it's a perception. I think our country is the only country that really puts everybody in a box.
Yeah, it's our country, and that's for sure.
That's a big thing. It's putting people in the boxes, which bothers me. Building off something Marnie said, this is something I've thought about for a while. I've never heard of an African Japanese or an Indian British or German Spaniard. You only hear about mixing the nationalities when you talk about Americans, or as Latin American or African American and so on. And Yeah, none of that has anything to do with whether or not I'm capable of doing a job, or I don't know how much. I'm not a biologist. I don't think it's going to have much to do with the medical care I need. So it does stand out to me seeing those things, and I do decline to answer whenever I can, just because I don't think it's important unless it's someone looking to check a box.
And it's really about checking the box, because being in New York, there was a time where they did have Negro, or they had white, and they had other. And there have been times that I put in other, because yes, I have Indian, and I have and I consider myself as Black when everything was talking about Black power back in the 70s. And so I've always never wanted to be locked into anything. I like to embrace what I am. And as Sean said, you have to know who you are. And I know who I am and what I'm about. So I don't want to get, and because New York is a melting pot, they always talk about their nationality of their ancestors or their parents. That's what they do all the time. So I've always been used to that, because that's what we did in New York City. Always.
Okay.
But you know what? One thing that we're starting to talk about now, because I'm helping with a festival that's going to be happening in August. The biggest topic, since we're talking about theater and I guess film too, because they all interlink together, is how the British Black actors and actresses are taking jobs from the African American or the native born actors and actresses. And a lot of them, because even, and Lord, I can't think of his name right now, he played Black Falcon in the NCU. He had an interview where he was talking about how a lot of Black or African American born actors and actresses are kind of feeling slighted, and even the ones who are trying to break into the business are feeling slighted about not being offered roles, especially historically Black roles like Harriet Tubman and Aretha Franklin. We just had that, and that's a big topic now that's happening, because it's taking them out of these roles, and they're getting them to more British actors and actresses of color, like Daniel Kaluuya. He did Black Judas, the Black Messiah and Judas. And I mean, it's like, you could have got somebody else to do that that's natively born here. I'm not saying he didn't do a wonderful job, but I'm curious to find out what Jackie and Edith and even Michael, what y'all have to say about something like that, because that right now is the hottest topic everybody's talking about.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, because that was one of the things when I saw Aretha Franklin, and they said that Aretha Franklin is the one that said she wanted Jennifer Holliday to do it. And then now, like you said, Sean, they got a British actor to play that role. So that is a big issue that's going on now.
What do you think, Jackie? Before you start, I'm sorry.
I think Hollywood is in love with British actors, white and Black. I think it kind of cuts. They hire. It's just a love affair with British actors. Yes, I do. I don't know why. He did do a great job, and a good actor can do a great job, whether they can bring the life experience. When people play, there's a uniqueness to growing up in the South, of being from this country and knowing the experience. You're going to bring more to the role. You're closer to it. You know those people. So it's definitely frustrating. But I don't know why. It happens to white actors also. It seems like they just love British. Hollywood loves British actors, and they are good. You know, some of the performances are good. Although, like I said, I think there are Black actors in this country who are more connected to those roles that would give better performances. Talent is out there.
Oh, okay, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know. I had to reboot the whole computer. I am not a happy camper right now because this computer costs too much for it to be doing up some old mess. I thank you guys for going on, Sean. I should have known you knew exactly what to do and how to take over and do everything. Yeah, I know better. Anyway, I can't let her have my show, y'all. She'll take it. I'm just trying to say. I'm just trying to tell y'all. She'll take it.
Now, tonight's guest on the Charm Show was Juan Isler.
Right, exactly. I'll be the dog.
How are you today? Do you want to add something to the conversation?
I know. Thank you, Noel. They took right over. Michael, I'm gonna ask you a question, but I want to read some of the comments. Marnie said she's talked about Gloria Estefan has a song called Somos Americanos, and it's just talking about all of us being here. I think hers was shown. My mom says, "Hey." Okay, my mom always watches the show, so I got to. And my cousin is watching, and she said, "Hey."
Because I said, hey.
Marnie asked if we're the only country that asks about ethnicity, and Kenneth Hinton said affirmative action was the reason for these boxes back in the day. Now, I know I'm late. I know I came to the party late, and after being messed up and everything, just leave me alone. Don't say nothing. I kind of want to go back to something with the January 6th thing. And Michael, I've heard the phrase a lot, and this one I want all four of you to comment on, but I'm gonna start with Michael. The phrase I've heard a lot from people after January 6th was, "This is not who we are."
Yeah.
What does that mean, or what is your take on that, and what do you think? That's a lot.
Honestly, it pretty much what I said earlier, watching frustration with our government. When we are frustrated, we have ways to address that. We have mechanisms in the law that allow us to take our grievances to our lawmakers, to our representatives. We hold them accountable every election. One of the hallmarks of our country is the peaceful transition of power. That no matter how much we disagree, no matter how contentious the election, we all accept the results and we all move on. And even if we don't like the results, we live with it. And we find a way to move forward and trust that whoever takes office or whatever has the best interest of the country at heart. And if we find that they don't, we do what we can to stop them, but within the bounds of a civilized society. And what we saw was not civilized. What we saw was not an acceptable form of protest.
Okay. All right. Jackie, this is not who we are.
I think the people who say that genuinely and honestly believe or want it to be true that this is not who we are. I think to minorities who've been oppressed in this country for years, unfortunately, that's a lot of what we know the country to be. We being the country as opposed to individual people. Although I don't think you can let go of the hope that we will one day, that will not be who we are. But I think a large portion of the country looks at that and says, no, this is exactly who we are. So it's a hope, it's an aspiration that this will not be who we are in the future. But I think we're still working. I think a lot of people look at it and say, yeah, this is who we are. It's just on TV now.
Okay, Edith, this is not who we are.
This is what we are. That's what I'm looking at. This is who we are. This is what our country has been like all the time. Is just being more. It's coming more to the forefront. And I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. I feel that I'm looking for a change in the country, but this is what we have been. This is what Blacks, whites, and other ethnic groups, this is what they've been dealing with all the time. And it's just come to the forefront.
Okay. Sean, this is not who we are.
It may have not been who we were after 9/11 when we all came together. It's like we forgot about ethnicity. We forgot about all our problems. We saw all of us as being Americans. But with the polarization of Republicans and Democrats, where you can't even come together to make a basic decision. If the Republican says green, the sky green, it's just crazy. This is, if we don't get our act together, this is who we are and worse to become. I can't be optimistic now, because if we don't get a hold of ourselves as a country, we're going to lose our power as being a superpower and just be discombobulated all over the place. I'm sorry, I cannot be optimistic.
Okay.
Can I just follow up on
Yes.
that? Because with this is not who we are. I think for me, part of it is not necessarily race. It's a violent society. We are a violent society on every level. That was a violent action. And we live in a violent society. So that's what I mean by when I say this is who we are. Yes, race is definitely there, but the violence in our society is who we are right now. I mean, look at the news, just on a daily basis, every day in every city. We're an incredibly violent society.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, and on this one, I'm going to give my opinion. I try not to, but y'all already know what my opinions are, so nothing new. I agree with Jackie. This is who we are. And I've told some people that who've said, I can't believe they did that. This is not who we are. Okay, let's see. Every time we have conflict, what do? We go to war. We don't always win the wars, but we go anyway. Because this is what this country does. Soon as something doesn't go right, let's fight. This is who we are in my mind, in my opinion. So yeah, there's that. I want to same but different. Okay, so younger generation. There are younger generations of African Americans who are sick of this show, sick of seeing TV shows and plays when we were doing plays, talking about slavery and the oppression that Black people had 100 years ago, as if it stopped, but 100 years ago. There are African Americans, young African Americans, who are sick of that. And they say that is something of the older generation. That is what they do. We don't do that now. It's not that bad. Jackie, what are your words to a young person that says that to you?
I have to be honest. I think, luckily, that's the minority. The young people, as they have always been throughout history, are out there. I mean, the past year, you can't help but be proud of what the Black Lives Matter movement has done. Very young kids out there. And I'm sitting at home watching now. I mean, they have been out there raising hell, getting, the message out. So I think the majority of them are doing an amazing job. To those, you will always have naysayers, or I don't know how to address the ones who think everything's okay, or I'd have to hear someone voice that opinion. Most of the young people I come in contact with are pretty impressive. Okay.
All right. Edith, same question. I'm gonna regret this. Go for it.
I have to agree with Jackie. Being an activist myself, as you well know, and I have participated in the marches from George Floyd, and even before then, I have always been quite visible. I saw a lot of the young people. I applaud them. They were out there. They were visible because I'm always covering stories. They allowed me, I asked them if it was okay if I could take their pictures. They were showing peaceful demonstration. And I remember that there was a meeting that we was going to have one night, and you thought that I was still downtown, and they said, Edith, where are you? And I said, oh, I'm home, because all of a sudden it started turning violent. But the young people that were out there that I was with, the ones that I have marched with, they were really, really, really visible and vocal and very, very involved. So it may be just a few. There's always going to be some naysayers, as Jackie mentioned, but I feel like the young people that I know personally, that I have been with and that I have marched with as well, they are quite vocal and they know what's going on.
Okay. Sean, we can't turn this naysayer away. What do we say to that naysayer when they come up to us and honestly say that?
I've actually had that happen to me, and that was years ago. It was Black History Month, and I had wrote a piece on slavery, and it was cast with predominantly young people. And they had a hard time getting into character, and I asked them why, and they said, well, because they didn't believe slavery happened. And I'm like, what? And they said, because they didn't believe it happened, because why did the people rise up and do something against it? And I was so taken aback. And I was like, what? Because they said, if it was us, we would have never let that happen. And I had to step back and say, okay, look, if you're not careful, history can repeat itself if a people don't know their history and don't respect it. Because you got to learn from what happened back then to bring it forward. I love the peaceful protest, but when it turns violent, that's one thing that Dr. King did that I always point out, because I actually made a film short called Nightmare, dealing with what if Dr. King came back? What would he say? What was going on? And it was the premise of this young man he was a third Black man in their community that got killed. And they were mobilized in the march. And I wrote a film about that, and we shot it. And one thing is, when they marched back in the 60s, and no, I wasn't alive then, I was born at the end. He vetted the people who were going to be a part of that demonstration. They trained them to actually say, what if somebody spits at you? What if somebody throws a bottle at you? I know we got the kids involved, and it's beautiful because you got to pass that torch. But what I was saying about what happened, because we had some violence here in South Carolina last year, and they're still arresting people now for tearing up the city. But the thing about it was, why aren't the ones, like we got Clyburn here in our state, why aren't the ones who were the activists back in the day teaching and training the young people about these things? Because right now they're doing it, but where are the older people? Not excluding you, Edith. I'm not calling you older, but you know what? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm really not trying to be funny.
I know.
But I'm trying to be serious, because I'm sitting there talking to my friends saying, Dr. King vetted these people. He didn't let everybody be a part of the cause, because he know if the wrong element comes in, it will mar the message. And all of this violence, all people seeing is violence. I have a friend in Portland. He says, I'm home. He says, they out there tearing up the place, burning places up. He said, but I'm getting kind of tired of it, because my tax dollars are paying for this to be fixed. And I go back to saying, how are you going to overcome that? Is you got to have the people who were marching and doing that, teach these younger kids, this is how you conduct a peaceable march. Let's sit down. You got to get these people with economics, because a lot of people don't understand anything but the dollar, the green dollars and your pocketbook. And that's what we say in the South. There's an old saying we say, the big dogs get in the yard and the little ones stay on the porch. We got too many little ones yap, 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 messing up the fight with the big dogs. That's me saying it in a Southern way.
I appreciate that. That was, yeah. I knew I liked you for some reason. I think we're going to keep you. We're going to keep you around.
No, I'm going to take your show. You always keep telling me that.
So, Michael, what did you think about Derek Chauvin's expression when the verdict was read? Or did you see it? Because you don't look at TV.
Didn't see it.
Doggone. Okay,
Sorry.
moving on. Jackie, what did you think of that of Derek Chauvin's expression?
I did not see it.
I didn't.
My
either.
heart, both of y'all. Okay, Edith, oh Lord. Edith, did you see it?
I didn't see it.
Yes, I did.
And your thoughts?
And my thoughts was, I think he was in shock because he didn't think that that verdict was going to happen. That's the bottom line. That's what it was. It showed all over his face, and as far as his expression, I really think that from the time that he's been out on bail anyway, and then up until that verdict, I think for whatever reason, I think he felt like he was going to get off.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
Okay, yeah, because he sat there looking like he had just seen a ghost. And I was like, no crying, no nothing, no smiling, no nothing. I was like, okay, well, that's beyond
He's gonna get him to the appeal.
That's, you know what, that was gonna be okay. Since she said it, Michael, do you think he will try to appeal his case?
From what little I have heard about the court case and the way it was handled, yeah, of course he will. I mean, well, anyone in that situation would appeal, but yeah, I did not follow the case, so I'm not really qualified to offer any kind of perspective on it.
So you could be a jury member then, because you didn't. And you know what? Sidebar. Let me ask you, Michael.
Honestly, I didn't even know when I didn't even know when it started, because I wasn't that plugged in to begin with, unfortunately.
Right. So yeah, you could be a jury. Yeah. Okay. But let me ask you this, Michael. And it's kind of on subject, but off subject. Was there ever a time when you watched television, and if so, why did you stop? What made you stop?
Grief, yes. I watched so much television growing up that walking into a room where a TV is on, I find it difficult to concentrate on anything else. So there was a time where, and actually this was a result of a girlfriend I was living with at the time. She opted to discontinue the cable service. And I don't even remember her reasoning. And I was a little distressed by that. But it was surprising how quickly I adapted. And once I got past the keeping up with the shows I love to watch, I didn't care so much. Okay. And said it's been so long now. It's, good grief, over 20 years since I've had television service. I don't miss it.
Okay. Jackie, along those lines, do you think television has, like, he doesn't watch it anymore. Do you think television and seeing the things we see on there, which obviously bring up this show, do you think that is causing us to be angry?
Could you be a little bit more specific?
Seeing the negativity and so much of it informing our opinions, do you think that's causing us to to feel the way we're feeling? Because like Michael is like calm, with everything, because he doesn't watch television, but kind of like the four of us, we like, yeah, no, we ain't surprised. We knew it won't happen. Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't think TV. What about social media? I think social media is just as damaging, if not more. Do I think it's causing us to be angrier? I definitely think it's separating us more. I think with TV, with social media, with everything, there are so many options now. People go to listen to people who agree with them, and they don't hear anything else. But that's not just TV. That's social media. Everybody goes to blogs and listens to podcasts that someone's talking about what they believe. People rarely are open to any ideas that differ from them because there's no need. I don't need to listen to anybody who disagrees with me. There is a home for somebody who's going to say exactly what I believe in. And I think when you cut yourself off from differing opinions, it automatically creates a separation. And it creates an anger, because when you hear somebody else say something, I've been listening all week to somebody saying what's right, and now this person's telling me something different. You're an idiot, because everybody else is saying this. So it automatically creates this schism. Like, I don't want to hear anybody who doesn't agree with me. So not just TV. Like I said, I think social media. And go ahead, Michael.
No, I'd like to build off exactly what you're just saying. That's one of the things I don't miss from TV is the sensationalism of the news, and it's always whatever's the most heart-wrenching or whatever they can use to get people frustrated or angry. Social media is 10 times worse. And I hope you're listening, Zuckerberg. Until I think that's a big part of what Sharon was talking about earlier, where we are so divided, we are so tribalistic as a country that, just like you said, Jackie, people don't want to hear opposing opinions. They don't want to entertain anything, any thought, any fact, or anything that doesn't support their position. And if we can't get back to reasonable, calm exchanges with people we disagree with and rationally discuss why we disagree, that's never going to change.
Okay. And I was told to ask, what percentage of news do you get from conversation in group chats, Michael?
Not an enormous percentage.
Okay. All right, Noel, you happy about that? Okay. Y'all started it earlier when I was gone. Wait a minute, that's such a great point Jackie is making. Okay. Yay for Jackie. Jackie said something. Good. So y'all had started talking about it early, so let's go ahead and go there. About racism in theater. First, and I'm doing a show of hands like we in school. Who believes that there is racism in theater of any form? Okay. All right.
Wherever there are people, there's going to be some kind of racism. Probably.
Wow. Okay. That. Go ahead.
We're people. We're humans. We have preconceived ideas, and I think there's always a risk of, whether it's conscious or something we didn't realize we picked up, that would qualify as racist or some other form of bigotry.
Okay, and that leads me to, do you think that it's on purpose or it's microaggressive? Anybody? Why he thinking?
I don't think it's conscious a lot of the time. I think it's things we've absorbed without realizing we've absorbed them, or personal anecdotal experiences we've had that we haven't realized we've translated into an assumption about an entire group of people.
Okay.
And there are
Jackie,
exceptions, of course, but in general, I think that's what it is.
That's right. Okay. Jackie, how do we change that in theater?
How do we change racism in theater?
The micro aggressions and he said, he's like, a lot of times we don't know what we're doing.
I mean, it's hardwired into us. I mean, it's part of the bigger debate. It's the country. It's racism exists in the country. Everything that happens within it, you're not separate from that. Theater takes place in a racist environment. So how do you fix it? That I don't have the answer to that. I mean, what we can do is what the theater community has been doing, I'm very proud of over the past years. Call it out when you see it. Don't remain silent. And that has to be from the audience, from the practitioners, from the funders. When you see it, call it out. I've worked in Black theater for the majority of my career. My focus is doing the work. I'm not worried about what white theater is doing. I'm focusing on presenting work that represents the African American community, but calling it out on all levels. Especially in the funding environment, funding has never been fairly distributed when it comes to Black and white theater. But call it out when you see it, and call it out in ways that affect those institutions. If you're a supporter of a theater and you become aware of certain practices, email them. I heard this is going to question it. You have that right. If you're buying tickets, you have the right. And we need you to do that. All the theater community as a whole needs audience members to call out those practices. If you're a star, if you have cachet in your name, don't work in certain places if you know those things are going on. It has to be called out from the beginning. It has to be called out for what it is, for it to be corrected. If nobody shines a light on it, it's never going to change.
Okay. Sean, Jackie just told me to call it out, but this is my first play and I have a very good part, and I don't feel right saying anything because I might get fired. I don't know what to do. Can you help me?
Wow, you asking somebody that lives in South Carolina that where I would tell you there is, I'm gonna call it out, there is segregation within our theaters. I was part of the 2002 when we did A Raising the Sun, a community theater, and we had a Black director. I have seen some Black actors that won't call it out because that is my part. That is their part, and they don't want to lose it. As a Black actor to another Black actor, I'll call you out on it because I'll say this, and I don't have a problem. That's why sometimes they kind of stay away from me is, you know, this is not right. You know, you're selling out. And no offense to anybody that's listening, but I'll tell you this, you might be in the door right now, but when you finish, the door gonna close behind you. So I'm with Jackie, call it out. Because you may have that one role, but guess what? You may not get another role for a very, very long time. I'm with Jackie, call it out.
Jackie?
And I was just gonna follow up. I understand what you're saying about the young actor whose first job and blah, blah, you know. There's someone you know, though. There's someone you know, if you're in Winston-Salem, call me. Because I can go somewhere and cause a ruckus. There's someone you know. You might not be able to do it, but have a conversation. Talk to someone. Don't swallow it. I'm not going to ask anybody to, risk it, because this business, it is. You can get blackballed really quickly. But there's somebody who can't get blackballed. There's somebody who's not concerned and who will, and that's the responsibility of leaders in the theater community to say, yes, call me. I'll have that conversation with you. And if need be, I will protect you. But we're not going to let it slide.
That's why I gravitated towards Jackie, the National Black Theater Festival and other festivals, because in South Carolina, we don't have anybody to call. I'm being honest with you. We don't have anybody. You have pockets of theater that you have nobody to call. If something happens, they'll call me now because I'll tell them about the National Black Theater Festival and other festivals because I've been going to the festival since 2001. When I discovered the festival, I was in shock. I was like, wow, I love this. I love this. And trying to get my counterparts to come up there. And 2019 was the first time I got counterparts who are artists to come up there because we have nobody to call. But now when I met Garland Thompson Sr. back in 2001, and he's not only my mentor, he was my friend, I could call him and get advice. Now I know people to call to get advice so I can talk to the younger ones who are coming up. But what do you do? And Juan, I'm not trying to take your show, but I'm really asking the question. I'm not being facetious. I'm serious. Who do you call if you have nobody in your community to call when you see it happening?
Edith, answer that. Can you answer that?
And that's what I was going to. I was going to basically say ditto to what Jackie and Sean was saying. And because even on the people that I know that perform professionally on Broadway in New York, some of them were just getting ready to have a turnaround in getting a lead position, and they had been struggling maybe for the past 10 years or so to get that leading part, as you say. But then the pandemic came, and there was a lot of things that they had to suck it up, because they knew that if they said anything or complained, they were going to get blackballed.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to get blackballed. And so now they just got a chance, an opportunity, and then the pandemic came. And so what became that leading role has now become null and void. But they had to ignore a lot of things that were going on. And so I say to Jackie, you know, who do you call? So even though that they are living in New York, some of them have moved from the South. Everybody thinks that they can move to New York and get that leading role and then do whatever they have to do to make sure that they get a part. And then as soon as they get a part and realize the kind of shenanigans that are going on and behaviors, and some of those behaviors, those are learned behaviors over the years. As an educator, there are things that have been embedded in young minds that have been formed, and it is still going on. So it becomes a learned behavior. So even in the theater, it is still happening. It is still prevalent. When they say return back to normal, what are we returning back to normal? To do the same thing that they have been doing all along?
So,
And you know,
okay, Jack.
the BLM movement too, they were saying they were embracing artists of color, but I don't know if that 15 minutes of We're the Nouveau has passed, and now the racism against Asian Americans, now that are they going to be moving into our place? I mean, you know, what are we going back to now? Once we get back, once Broadway opens, once the theaters open, once Hollywood opens, Atlanta open, what are we walking into?
Jackie, do you want to answer Edith about who do we call? Do you have an idea?
Well, this is one of those instances where social media can be a real enemy. It can also be a friend. There's power. The We See You White Theater movement. You know, contact people who can get the word out. You know, there are movements. There are message groups and boards where you can go and contact people and talk to people, and they can get that message out for you. I don't have an answer for every situation, but I will say swallowing it is never the answer. I'm not asking you to lose your job, but do the work, do the research, find a way to shine a light on. If you're scared to do it, call several people till you find somebody who will step up with you to shine a light on.
Okay, thank you. Don't send in two of y'all, and y'all know too. Okay, Michael, go ahead, talk, Michael.
Actually, I wanted to ask a question.
Yes.
Before I do, first off, I apologize for my lighting. I keep noticing in Facebook, my desk lamp died on me, so I'm very shadowed at the moment. I did not mean to imply earlier that all racism was unintentional, and I realize it may have sounded that way, and if I did, I apologize, because I know there is blatant racism. I know there are people who have very deliberate views on how to treat, you know, Black people, Latinos, women, people who aren't straight, anything. I'm not denying that exists, but I do have a question for those of us who are coming from I actually hate the word privilege, but I know that I am incredibly lucky. I've had a very fortunate background. I grew up middle class, white, male in America. Doesn't get much. I won't say it was easy. It doesn't get much luckier than that. So coming from that background, I'm having to educate myself and find ways like where are my misperceptions? Where are my blind spots? So one of the things that we've been doing I've been working with Brave New Classics since they started up in June. And one of the things that we've set as a goal for ourselves is to open ourselves up to not, and it's a little shocking to hear the words out of Jackie's mouth, but to not be a white theater. We want to be open to everyone, want to be inclusive as much as we can. And we make an active effort to reach out to non-white and non-straight and female performers, open up opportunities for them. How can we do better? How can we learn? How can we better learn what our misconceptions are, our unintended slights or insults, and just how can we do better?
Anybody want to take it for Mama?
I'll take that one because one of the things that I loved about one of my mentors, he directed California Suites by Neil Simon. Everybody knows that play. He did, and he was an African American director. He did colorblind casting. Because if he did it traditionally, the way Neil Simon wrote the play, it was for whites, but he did colorblind casting. In fact, I played Millie with the couple from Philadelphia, and my husband was white. And, he mixed up the couple, the tennis couple, he mixed them up and they were biracial. But then when we had opening night, what happened was he was trying to diversify the community theater. But when we opened up to the general audience, which was predominantly white, and he opened the door to expose his wife, when his wife, he's trying to hide stuff in that scene, you literally heard the air go out the room, and everybody didn't say it, but it was like, she's Black. But like I told them, my goal was to not, you're going to see me as a Black woman coming in married to a white guy who was supposed to be Jewish. But my goal by the end of that scene was you to see a woman who was upset because her period came on and she caught her husband in bed with a passed out hooker. That any woman would feel that my color didn't matter. I was a woman that caught my husband cheating on me. So if you do more colorblind casting, have a Black director, have more Black directors. I'm finding out for me, I don't know anybody else, but for me, I know when I direct white actors and actresses, I get more pushback. When I'm trying to critique them and perfect them, they'll say, well, I've done this before. Why are you picking on me? I'm not picking on you. Now, I can't speak for nobody in New York or wherever, but I know from personal experience here. So I'm thinking if you do more colorblind casting, and that's my thought, more colorblind casting and have directors of color, because we have an eye too. And we know, and we have plenty of us who are not only just Black male directors, but Black female directors. We don't have that many Black female directors and Black female producers out there. We only have a handful. And, we got them in film, but we don't have that many in theater. I mean, that's my experience of working with that. And it's very successful when you do colorblind casting.
Okay. Jackie.
I was just going to offer more of a thought process maybe. But be fearless in your approach and honest, especially in conversations with African-American artists. Be honest about what you're trying to do, what your goals are. Don't mince words. Don't try to please them. Be honest when you talk to them. Be fearless with your audience. Be honest with your audience. And it's not an easy thing to do because from the producer standpoint, you're in a regional theater. It's like my audience is white. They're the ones buying the tickets. So it takes bravery to go and say, we're making a change. And everybody in the producing team who are counting the dollars have to be fearless and say, this is worth it. Because as a producer, in the end, it's like, it's nice in theory, but they're not buying tickets anymore. What happened? You have to be fearless and honest in what you want to do as a community, as a theater organization, and who you want to be.
Okay.
Juan, can I ask you a question? I know this is your show, but I need to ask you a question. And I think the audience probably need to hear it. How did you feel when you played the role in Oliver, which was traditionally white?
Okay, so let me tell that. I played Bill Sykes and Oliver at Justice Theater Project. Their Burning Cold is another one that I oh God, let me put that pen down. Somebody texted me and told me to stop
Excuse me.
doing that pen. There are some roles that I've gotten that have been colorblind roles.
Yes.
And it felt great to do those, but I personally don't know if that is enough. And what I mean by that is enough is I kind of side with Jackie. I think, Michael, you have to be honest. And I think one of the problems that Negro, colored, African American, Black, whatever we want to call ourselves this year. I'm sorry, that's just what I think about that. I'm just going to tell y'all how I feel. I think one of the problems for us has been instead of having a conversation like what you're doing now, which is wonderful, majority American. I'm going to say the majority American. You can call it, you can say it's white, you can say whatever you want to say it. The majority of America thinks they can solve our problems without asking us, how can we help you solve your problem? And it goes into theater as well. You know, they have these meetings with 12 white men and call it a board and say, okay, well, we the Black people are upset, so we got to do the whiz. Let's do that one play, make them happy, and send them on their way. Well, why are they still upset? Well, did you ask any of them? Did you talk to any Asian Americans? Did you talk to any Latinos? No, you made that assumption and decided on your own. The other thing that really does not look good, and it's one of the reasons why Torn is here, is when something like George Floyd happens, there are the cookie cutter responses. And in my mind, when I see it, I'm like, do they think I'm so stupid that I don't see that this is a cookie cutter response? This isn't heartfelt. And like what you just did, which I don't know about anybody else, but when you apologize, I was like, what is he apologizing for? I don't know. Okay, no, everybody up here is allowed to speak their mind. And if you speak your mind and it doesn't match what we are saying, then we're allowed to come back, not in a negative way, not mean, but say, hey, hold up, this is this. But if you think for us and don't allow us to speak for ourselves, then nothing ever changes. Nothing changes. It stays the same. Edith, why you asked me a question?
That's what I do.
Oh Lord, Michael, let me ask you a question. Same topic but different. So there's a play being done. You are the artistic director. There's a play being done. It is The Color Purple. No, let me not use that because somebody's gonna get mad at me for real. It is Ain't Misbehaving. And who should direct Ain't Misbehaving? Should it be a particular race? And are you familiar with Ain't Misbehaving before I ask the question?
I'm not familiar with Ain't Misbehaving. Sorry.
Okay, Ain't Misbehaving starred, it was back in 78, I want to say, Nell Carter, Andre the Shield? I can't remember. It was 5 Black people in it, and they did music of, oh Lord, Kenneth Hinton talking about me. He talking about him. He should direct it. No, Kenneth. Sit down. Have several soft seats. Them 5 over there. It was 5 Black people doing the music of Fats Waller. Mm-hmm. And so it was like a jazz type thing. So now those are your characters, 5 Black people. Okay. Who do you think should direct that? And is there even should there even be a should in this case?
I know Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I know the politically correct answer is yes, she's directed by a black person, but there's a great deal of value to that because an African American is going to bring a perspective to the play that a white director is almost guaranteed not to be able to bring. And since it is the experience, it's about the experience of African Americans, especially not today, then yeah, I think the perspective of the director matters.
Okay.
Could, say, a white or Asian or Hispanic director direct that? Yes. Is that going to serve the show best? Is that going to serve the company the best? I don't like to. Probably not. But there's also the question of, do you have that as an option?
Okay.
Let's say the company's decided to do this, and all the African American directors I know, I've asked, and they are busy. Is it better to have a non-black director direct the show, or to not have the show, or not have that story be told at all?
Jackie, okay, Jackie has stayed on for me. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie has to go. Jackie, answer that question right quick before you leave. Thank you, Michael.
Sorry. So what is specifically is the question?
So, ain't misbehaving. Should it be directed by a particular race, person
Yes,
of a
it should be
particular race?
directed by a black person.
Okay, why?
Because first they'll connect to the story more, and just for us, North Carolina Black Rep, the opportunities are just not even yet. We're not at the place where we can assign black pieces to white directors. There's still, it's kind of like people are like, well, why do you only produce African American writers? Because they're not getting produced anywhere else. Like that playing field is still so unlevel. We're a black theater company. We were formed to produce black work. We hire black directors because the opportunities are still not there in this country. So that's why. And that's a simple cut to the chase kind of answer. But in my opinion, yes. Now, if you have it on your season and you can't find a black director, do you turn away all those jobs for the black actors? No. Like, I want to see them work too. But my first choice would be to find a black director to helm that show. If it's a Latin show, try to find a Latin director. If it's someone who can connect culturally to it. And also, all of those groups are also in the same boat. The opportunities are so few and far in between that it's not time to say everybody, like a while ago, there was like, oh, we can cast August Wilson shows, colorblind casting for August Wilson shows. And luckily, August was like, no, that ain't happening. Because he wrote for specific people for a reason. Maybe in 100 years, maybe 200 years, we'll revisit it then. But right now, no.
Okay, and right quick before you, because I say he got to go. Right quick. So, but now, The Wizard of Oz, Ragtime. Can a black director direct that?
Yes.
So, Michael's dogs is mad. So, why is there that? Why a double
standard? The same reason I just said, the playing field is not even right now. The opportunities are not there right now. It's all about availability of work.
Okay.
Of opportunity, I should say.
Yes.
And I'm answering quickly. I'd have to have this conversation a little bit further to flesh it out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. All right. Well, I appreciate it. You got to skedaddle.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Great talk.
Take care, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. It was a pleasure.
All right, bye. Okay, so now, Mike, did you have a rebuttal before I asked somebody else something? You didn't? Yes, no?
No, I just I felt like I waffled a lot in that answer, but the way Jackie summed it up, that was perfect.
Okay. Well, so Edith, I'm a white man right now. And if we colorblind casting, I want to play Martin Luther King and go.
At this juncture, I couldn't do it. I just only because I have to kind of piggyback on what Jackie said, and then to also share that just the other day I was watching an interview by Carson that played Kyle on Living Single, and why he was axed from that show, and he was axed because there was a lot of controversy that they had with the characters, with the 4 female women being strong Black women, and they wanted him and the what was the other guy?
John,
Overton,
yes.
Yeah, Overton, yeah. And they wanted them to kind of, and the way Carson put it, they wanted them to kind of be buffoons or being silly, and Carson had to keep going back to the producer that no, you can't have 2 Black men dealing with 4 strong Black women, and they didn't understand it. And so I feel like at this juncture where we are now, I cannot see a white man playing that role. Cannot.
Okay. Sean, you got this look on your face.
No, I'm processing everything that Edith and Jackie has said. I mean.
Okay. And I'm trying to formulate my word, make sure I say what I want to say right, and I may just skip it. So Michael feels that, a Black person should, Michael and Jackie feel like it should be someone of that ethnicity. But let's say it's not. And I am your white director, and I tell you, Sean, come here. You're not acting Black girl enough, and go.
Then I'm sorry if I'm not acting Black girl enough. I'm going to tell you what is your perception of what is acting Black enough is. Black enough is not doing this, and is not talking all ebonics and stuff. We have different flavors, just like the white people do. So if you feel like I'm not acting Black enough, I'm sorry, I'm not right for this part. And here's your script, and have a good day. Sorry, I'll come gangster like that.
Thank you, Sean.
You know how I am. They will tell you in community theater here, when I hit the stage, they're like, where has she been? But I don't do certain roles. I'm not going to do certain things.
Okay. Let me bring you down. Come down. Now.
You can laugh, but you go, girl. You just say it in your brain.
I am saying you go, girl, but I'm like, oh Lord, okay. The dog's gonna start. Michael, the dog's gonna start barking again. The dog's gonna start barking again from Sean.
Say it again, Sean. Say it again.
Right? Say
it again.
Come on. I mean, I can't help it. I mean, what do you define as being Black enough? I mean,
okay, now I want to.
For example, Juan, when I played Millie in California Suite, I was told, this is a couple from Philadelphia. When I get very comfortable with people, my Southern drawl comes full throttle. And I was told, you don't say get, it's get. And I had to retrain my talk to sound like Edith. Okay? No, I'm serious, because you have a Northern accent and I have a Southern. So you're going to tell me what my ethnicity, and you're not even Black, supposed to be, and I'm not being enough of it? And if I tell you that, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm going to say this, just because you date Black, sleep Black, have a baby for Black, marry Black, don't make you Black, because you will have a choice to go back and be white. I'm born black, gonna live black, and gonna die black.
That's right.
So you cannot tell me that I'm not black enough. Now, if you're telling me this person is from a socioeconomic background, then I may try to adjust how I carry myself and how I say my words. But don't insult me like that, because you insult me to the core. And I'm sorry, I don't need to disappoint you or waste your time, but I don't think I'm going to be the best fit for this part. And it's not blackballing. Think about it, Juan. I'm not blackballing myself because I'm not holding up your production, but I'm taking myself out of it because I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, hold on. Now, let's pretend. Now, yeah.
You're on your own, Juan.
I know. Oh God. So I ain't letting you go to bed because you just I am Sean. Okay, I am Sean, and this is my first play. Goes back to that actor. This is my first play, and that director said that to me, and I want to keep my job. What is your advice to me?
I would say ask the director to clarify what they mean. And if you don't get it, then please demonstrate what do you mean? In essence, if you saying I'm not being black enough and I want to keep my job, well, can you help me or give me some advice in what you're meaning by being black enough? You're not insulting them. You're not losing the job. I want to meet the needs for the production. So tell me, what is black enough? How am I supposed to stand, walk, talk, and carry myself?
Okay. All right.
If I was a newbie in the business, and then if you're giving me these suggestions, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna study that. I've heard, just like Halle Berry did when she did the Spike Lee movie with Jungle Fever, she played the crackhead. She was, she went and researched her part. So if you want me to be that, and I want to break into whatever I'm trying to break into out of theater or film or television, then, tell me, what do you see? What is your vision for me in this role if I'm not acting black enough, so that I can go and research it? And to me, that's a happy medium, because then I'm assuming that actor or actress is thinking in their mind, I'm doing some character acting so that I can do this job, so I can get it done and go to the next job. I mean, what do you think? What do you guys think?
Yeah. Michael?
If I may, if one of our directors had said that to an actor, the rest of us would have stared at them in shock. Sorry, if you're going to ask for a stereotype, you don't understand what you're doing.
Right.
No, it wouldn't be an acceptable request, because it's just that you ask for a stereotype, you got a preconceived idea, put it in terms that a director and an actor can discuss. What's going to serve the production, like you said. That's my guiding principle most of the time. What's going to serve the production? Mm-hmm. And it's, if I'm asked to play a role that is some racist redneck jackass, okay, fine, I'll play the role. Give it to me in those terms. Give me some specifics that I can model on, but don't give me a stereotype from another demographics perspective and expect me to just automatically understand what you're asking for. It doesn't make sense. And in this case, like the situation you described, Juan, it's insulting.
It is.
Yes, it is. Very, very much so.
And if I may, real quick, Kenneth, that is a version of Gone with the Wind I would love to see.
You know what? I was going to ask you that too. I'm trying to, my thing isn't mirrored, so I got a point. Okay. I was going to ask you that too. I was going to ask you that very question. I want to see a black director direct Gone with the Wind. Kenneth asked that question. So
I don't mean no harm. I kind of like Gone with the Wind. I'm sorry. I have seen that film over and over because I love classic movies. And there's some
never
movies
seen the movie.
You'd be like, whoa. I'm sorry.
You and my mama. My mama will watch it every time they come on. That, The Wizard of Oz, and Sound of Music. I don't care what's going on.
I don't like the Sound of Music and Wizard of Oz, but I like Gone with the Wind. But there's some other old classical movies that, you know, you'd be like, oh, because there's a genre that you have to learn in storytelling, because they adapted a lot of plays into films back then.
Okay, you know what? Now that it's in, you know, I'll find a way to spin it and put it in what I need it to be in. Gone with the Wind. You say you like it, but you know, there's some young people that say
They don't like
no.
it, and I can understand. Just like you don't like somebody. I love Betty Davis, and I've looked at some of her films, like with Jezebel, and you see some stereotypes in there with the little black children coming to the door looking for food while they're having all this food. There are stereotypes, but you have to look at the times. Look at Freddie Washington in Imitation of Life, and then look at the Lana Turner version in the 50s. Freddie Washington was, she wasn't passing, but she could have passed as being a white actress, and she was actually cast in that role. And look at Pinky. Pinky was not. She was supposed to be a black woman that could pass as white, but Pinky was played by a white actress. So you have to look. There's different kind. When you start talking about older films, yeah, we have Hattie McDaniels, but one of the things is Hattie McDaniels won an Oscar for that role. But Hattie McDaniels said, yes, I may be playing a maid on screen, but in real life, Hattie McDaniels was not a maid. Hattie McDaniels was very wealthy and successful. So you have to look at all these spectrums here when you start talking about these things.
Yeah, but in, you know, my generation today, ain't no way in this world I would have played a maid or a butler or anything like that. Why in the world would do that?
Want to do unless you lived back then. I would tell my grandmother, I said, if I lived back during slavery time, I would not be in the fields. And she said, well, honey, you'd be having a bunch of babies if you're not in the fields. So you cannot say, you of this generation cannot say what you would or would not do if you're not living in that times. We're not living in the 30s, 40s, 20s, 50s, even the 60s when the Black Arts Movement started. We're not living during that time. We cannot say what we would or would not do. We can only base upon how we feel right now and say if we were back then, we wouldn't do that. But to actually walk in those shoes, we cannot say that. Because you don't know what our grandparents and great-grandparents had to do to survive. And Edith, I'm gonna say, what does Miss Edith thinks about that?
I was going to add to what you're saying because I agree wholeheartedly. But I thought about the movie about Roots. When I saw Roots, also because I met Alex Haley in person and had a discussion and took a picture of him as well back then when he wrote the book of Roots before the movie even came out. And one of the things that kind of stuck out in my mind when I saw the movie, oh, if that was me, I would have done this, that, and the other. I wouldn't have let any white man sleep with me. I programmed myself to think that I would not do those things that they did. But I have to agree with Sean. During those times, you had to do what you had to do in order to survive.
I don't know.
It's about survivalism.
Thank you. And I love the fact.
I mean, Edith, I think we're both being very honest. I mean, Juan, if you were back then, what would you do? Run away?
Well, I probably would have ran away. But originally, I'd have been out there picking cotton. Shoot.
No, well, you got that whip. They caught you and got that whip across your back.
Oh no, they wouldn't have caught me.
See.
One stop.
See,
next question. Next.
Let's keep this moving. Let's keep
Edith, thank you, Edith, for saying it was because you just said what I told y'all at the beginning. I know you just said what I said at the beginning, and that was the programming. I love the fact that you said that. So look, this is the last thing I'm gonna ask y'all. Yeah, I know I would have ran away, and I'd have been like Harriet Tubman. They'd have called me Harry Tubman. Okay.
Hey, Juan, before you move on.
Yes.
I just want to bring a circle around a little back towards just prior to this. regarding the directing and the stories like Gone with the Wind and so on, with my fictional artistic director hat on, I would love to see those kinds of stories directed and told with a black director.
They would be very
Because the antebellum South, where those stories took place, was not a whites only environment. That is a huge part of the African American experience. And I think it's absolutely wrong to romanticize that society. And B, there are so many stories that could be told from the other perspective in that society and give us a new way of looking at it. And it's such a rich opportunity. And it could be an eye-opening experience for so many people. That
Michael,
please,
you may
please do
inspire
this.
somebody on this call, watching this, and say, "Hey, I might write a script from that perspective." You never know.
Exactly.
Yes.
I appreciate you saying that. So Kenneth wanted us to say, which I thought everybody knew, but there you go, me thinking in the programming. Hattie McDaniels, for those of you who are watching and don't know, she was the first Black person to win an Oscar
Supporting
for her
actress.
role. Yes, supporting actress for her role in Gone with the Wind. And so I find it funny when people today say, I would have never played Hattie, but she won an Oscar, and you are in the next production of Working at the Community Theater for Free Play.
She was making her coins because she played a lot. I've seen her in a lot of Betty Davis movies. With Warner Brothers. I've seen her. Yes, she did play the kitchen help or whatever, or the poor Black mom. Guess what? She made her money. Ethel Waters was Pinky, and Cabin in the Sky. They made their money.
Exactly. So, and yes, she had to come in from the kitchen to get an award, but oh well, it don't matter. She got it. Whatever. That was the times.
But Clark Gable stood up for her too now, because they weren't going to let her come to the Academy Awards to get her award.
Right.
And he said, no, if she can't come, then I'm not coming. So you can't always say all white people are mean or evil, because he stood up for Hattie. Same thing with Leonard Nimoy did for Uhura. Michelle Nichols in Star Trek. He stood up for her. So there are some who do stand up for Black actors and actresses, say, wait a minute, you're not giving them their fair shakes. So that goes back to what you were saying. We are becoming a community. It's a community we need to become.
Exactly. Now, my last question, and this reason is my last, because this is probably going to take us into 9:30 the way y'all talk.
I'm getting out here. I'm going to bed.
I'm fired up now.
Okay, I see. I know that's the problem. The end of it, y'all want. It's like when you go to somebody's, when you were a kid and you would go to somebody's house and you ain't know the other kids, but by the time you ready to go, your mama ready to go, y'all playing and friends and stuff now. Like, okay, see. Oh Lord Jesus, here we go. Okay,
we just found our groove. We're good.
Right.
I'm good.
And look, y'all, you know what's funny? And
I got family in South Carolina, Sean.
Oh, Lord. Come down here with me. I'll cook you some peach cobbler.
Y'all know what's funny? Jackie was supposed to have gotten off at 8:30, and he didn't get off at 9 o'clock. Okay. Anyway, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is my first play. We're sitting around the table. The stage manager is reading the rules, or whatever. Is reading everything that we're gonna do. Does number 6, gets to number 7 and says, this is a safe space, and moves on to number 8. I'm brand new. This is a safe space. Go.
Whether I got new actors or not, I'm going to stop the stage manager and say, please elaborate on that and what that means. And if they don't, I will. Because that's important. It's a very important point that people need to feel that they are safe. This is an environment where they are free to express themselves, to experiment, and to not be victimized or made to feel bad by their fellow actors, and that there is there is a process to deal with it if it happens, including if I, the director, screw up and Lisa went feeling like garbage.
Okay. And it's okay if you say you agree with somebody else. I'm asking you guys, everybody gets the same question. Edith, this is a safe space. Number 7, this is a safe space. And I'm going on to number 8. Edith.
I was stop for Edith. What is a safe space? What is that? I'm like, child, what is a safe? What is that? This is
I mean, you're gonna have to break that down. When you say safe space, what is that? Define that. Define safe space.
No sharp corners or hard edges.
Thank you. But and you know what? We're laughing about it, and we're also, and Edith, I understood.
No, I'm serious.
No. Right. I understand you sitting there stumped, but y'all are laughing about it. But this happens. Y'all do realize this, right?
Yes, I do.
It actually happens just like I'm saying it. And then they go on to number 8, and they go on to number 9, and nobody questions it. Nobody says anything. Nobody says, wait. Like Michael just said, oh, wait. Explain what a safe space is. Because it could be, okay, don't walk under ladders. From that all the way up to a man harassing a woman or someone of color feeling a certain type of way. And I asked you guys that because it happens. Now, we're supposed to have these Chicago Code of Ethics. But, you know, that's another one that they throw up. Number 10, we follow the Chicago Code of Ethics. Number 11. Exactly.
I was like hearing headlights right now. I'm like, what is that?
I heard about it for the first time.
They say all of that about the Code of Ethics at the beginning when you're getting ready to do that production, and they tell all the cast members that, but it does not happen.
And Michael, what were you going to say?
I will say that depends on the theater company.
Yes, it does. It depends on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had never heard of the Chicago. What is it? Standards? I forget. I just looked it up.
Chicago Code of Conduct. Chicago Code of Conduct.
Yeah, that's it. Chicago Theater Standards. That's
theater standards. Okay,
yes.
Sorry.
I'd never heard of it until like a year and a half ago, and it started popping up in a couple of shows I did, one after the other. So I actually read them at that point, and basically, yeah, it is important to go over them and to make sure that we follow them. But basically, it's a codified version of "Don't be jerks."
Well, they must have just started this recently, because when I was doing community theater.
No, ma'am. Well, when you say recently, what year are you thinking of recently?
Well, the last thing I've done for community theater, and I've done theater, but I mean, community theater was 2000, I want to say 5. Oh,
yeah, no, we just been since then. Okay, yeah, it's like been 2 years now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was doing it. They weren't saying all this
2 or 3 years. Yeah.
I remember in 2002, we did something with minors. Did a Raising the Sun, and the mom was trying to come to rehearsals. One of the mothers was trying to come to rehearsal, and the director forbid her to come. And she was like, what in the world? And I said, look, I'll watch out for your son. Okay? Because we didn't have all these rules you're talking about that was read. And, you know, it was like we were opening, and one of the actresses, she would try to walk topless. And I sent the boy upstairs. I said, and you know, one of the actors was drinking. He was drunk one night. I sent the boy upstairs, and I said, you go upstairs and you stay there until it's time for the show to start. I mean, we didn't have these code of conducts. That was in the early 2000s, either the late 90s or early 2000s. And this is community theater. They didn't read when we started rehearsals, and those children would come because they had a backup because of the age. They didn't read us no code of conduct. That's why I'm looking at y'all like.
No, they've been doing it like a couple of years ago now.
Oh, okay.
So they're released in 2017.
Okay, 2017. Let me tell you what happened.
Like, am I missing something? Is this something new?
No, let me tell you what happened. And this is the best I know it. If I'm wrong, I know this is some of y'all gonna watch. Y'all watching. Y'all gonna type something. So correct me again. I ain't always right. Back in 2017, maybe in 2016, I don't know. Maybe that they wrote them in 17 because of what happened in 16. I'm not sure, but they were doing a play in Chicago.
Okay.
And I think it was the production of Charlie Brown musical play thing, and the director was making cast members physically sick, like falling off ladders and spraining ankles and all that stuff. And they revolted and they did not perform the play. And it was a big thing with that theater company because when it was announced, okay, I was making sure nobody was correcting me yet, because when it was announced, then other stuff started coming out about what that theater was doing. And so they got together and made a standard and it got adopted across the country. But some of those things don't apply everywhere. And so it's gotten to the point now in just 3 years where it is just a number and a sentence and we're on to the next thing. And like you just said, if you know this mirroring thing on if you, Sean, heard that, you'd be like,
yeah, like,
right, like, did y'all just move on to number 11 without telling me what number 10 is? And it happens. So that was the reason why I asked you guys that question, and it's quite hilarious to me that you actually haven't even heard of it. So yeah, you got some reading to do. Anyway, that's your homework assignment is you will be graded on it. There will be 100 questions. Each question is a point.
Y'all don't let him fool y'all. He's not gonna have me back because he said I'm trying to take over his show. He's not gonna have me back.
He will have you back.
I ain't have you or Edith back. Edith gonna ask me a question.
Not on the same show. I guess
no, the God no. And look, and then Kenneth sitting over here talking about he need to be on this show. You definitely ain't gonna get up here with the two of these. No, sir. That we're not doing that. And Noel, you either.
Come on, Noel.
No, I can't have all y'all at the same time. Thank you, Michael, for Michael and Jackie kept me calm. These two, what else? Something, yeah, these two. There you go. There you go. These two had me barking like the dog.
The dog's coming
right.
in. We gonna let the dog.
Oh no. Well, guys, yeah, no. I'd rather have a dog up here.
Say that.
Noel said you and her would be best friends, and I would be in trouble. Yes, I would.
Come on, Noel.
Yes, I did.
You need to take it over. I'm sorry.
Lauren, they can never come back. I just want you to know they're not invited anymore. They can't come back. Michael, I apologize for them. No, guys, for real. I really, really enjoyed this. This was great. I didn't like the optics at first because I was like, oh God, Michael is the minority here. But then I thought, it's a reverse. Let me see what that's like. So I appreciate that. Michael, let the dog. We know what a dog sound like. Leave your mic on.
The dog will be right up in here with us. We got something to say, dog.
Right. Thank you. Dog don't like racism either. Leave your mic on. Dogs barking and babies crying. That lets us know we're alive. That lets us know we exist. I'm good with it. So, but yes, I really want to thank you guys. I hope I didn't ask anything that was too whatever, but I wanted to ask something that would make you think. And I think I did that. And you guys did that as well. You asked something that made me think and made our audience members think. So I appreciate you. And yes, I will have you back. I think it's about time to start having people back. We've done 22 or 23 shows now. And yeah, I think it's that time. Lauren, come on back on. We hit our 2-hour mark.
And Sean, I want to connect with you too after this.
I don't want you two to talk to each other. No, you would not be talking to each other.
Why? We grown.
Oh God.
I enjoyed it.
We'll get together.
Yes, ma'am. We surely will. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Juan, for having me and asking me to be a part of this. I think it was really, really nice and very enlightening for me to connect with other artists. I really love this platform.
Me too.
Yes.
Thank you,
Good.
Juan.
Oh, you are
And
welcome.
Lauren, too.
And
Yes, and
Lauren,
Lauren
too.
too.
Thank you, Lauren.
Mhm.
Thank you
Thank you,
guys for
Lauren.
being here.
Yes, yes. I mean, really thank you. And yes, please connect with each other and know that I will be asking you again. Sean, I may have to come to your house and make sure your computer work because
What's wrong
2
with my
weeks ago.
computer?
2 weeks ago you couldn't get it to work.
It couldn't work 2 weeks ago because I thought I had to be all dolled up and I'm tired. I had meetings. So you said, come as you are. So I'm in a torn up sweatshirt in my living room in my recliner. So when you told me that, I'm like, look, I don't have to put any makeup on and all that stuff. Edith, baby, you look beautiful.
Well, I hate to say it, Sharn, but there's a lot of people on Facebook who want to be on the Sharn show now. So
Yeah, they do. They over here talking about it.
What?
Kenneth over here talking about that's okay, Juan. I will be on Sharon's show. Oh, okay, Kenneth, good. You be on her show then. You just said it. I need to take a picture of that. I need to screenshot that one.
Well, look, well, you really owe us because when you had computer issues, we did keep it going.
We kept the show going, just like
Yes,
my
y'all
production.
did.
The show must go on.
Lord.
Yes, we did, boo. We had your back, and you just want.
Yes, you did. I appreciate it.
Thank
now
you.
I'm gonna act crazy regardless. Now, come on, you had me in one of your plays. You already know
No,
that.
I wasn't in the play. You was in my TV pilot script. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oops. Oh Lord, TV
Yeah.
pilot. It was on. Look, nowadays when it's on Zoom, it's a play in my head.
But I am going to announce that we are doing a Pacific Northwest Multicultural Reader Series and Film Festivals in August. It's going to be completely virtual. It's from Portland, Oregon, but it's going to be virtual. And they will be doing submissions for scripts for the reader series as well as films. And this is a platform for artists of color and indigenous artists to have their voices heard. And even if someone is not an artist of color, if they're telling stories about the Black, Asian, Latinx, or Native American experience, you will be able to submit those scripts to be considered to be read. So that is coming up, and I'm working with them to plan that. So I had to give that little plug for them because this is a very brand new festival that's coming up, and they will be looking for actors to do the readings as well.
Okay, thank you. And I definitely need you and Noel to connect. Also, Beltline to Broadway has a BIPOC directory. And the reason why we have a BIPOC directory, yes, I would love for you guys to, well, Michael, I'm sorry, you can't be on that one. I would love for you guys to be on that. I mean, it's BIPOC. I mean, it is what it is. But the reason why we have that directory is because I have heard the expression from some directors and artistic directors before that we would hire more Black, Indigenous, and people of color, but we can't find any. Now, we all know that that's not true, but as some of you have stated tonight, sometimes you have to look at the economics of it, and you have to find a different way to get the results that you want. So now, if it's said to me, I can say, have you been to the directory? And then the jaws drop. Okay, so then you know what? You didn't have that intention to begin with. You were telling me that just to shut me up. But now there's a directory here. So have you been to it? No? Okay, well then go to the directory and have several seats, 5 over there. So please sign up for that and get yourself on that. Lauren, Kenneth asked to post the URL for the, wait a minute, is that for the directory, Kenny? Or is that
I will do that for sure.
Or is that for Sharon's thing? Which one?
I got a show now?
Yeah, because
I got to book you for my show, okay? I'll book you for my show.
That's good. So then your computer can cut out and I can take over. So Sharon, if you afford that information to me about about what's happening. Yeah, on Facebook, I will put it out.
This will be in the Pacific Northwest. When they do an in-person festival, it will be in Portland, Oregon. But right now it's virtual because of COVID. And this is going to be their very first festival. They're excited about it, and I'm helping them with it.
Is the website up already?
The website is up. I haven't looked at it yet. Let me see.
What's it called?
It's PNMC-festival.org. And we're working on putting up registration, but the submission call should be going out very soon because we want people to submit.
You said you find it, Lauren?
I haven't found it.
Okay.
What you say it's called?
It's P like in Paul, Pacific Northwest Multicultural, PNMC, those initials, dash festival. I'm pulling it up now. See if I can pull it up on my phone.
Dash festival.
Or it may not go live until May 1st.
Oh.
I'll reach back out to you, Juan, so you can let your show audience know, because we're trying to get submissions for scripts. We're only asking for 60-page max or one act scripts, 60-page max. It can be theatrical scripts, or it can be a pilot episodic, which is if you're doing a drama series, is 60-page max, or comedic is 35 pages max. But we'll have all that on there. But we're looking for artists. We're looking for stories, because when somebody submit, you don't know if they're green, blue, black, white, yellow, whatever. But if you got a good script, good story, you make the cut. But I'm just being mindful. You may have a director of color directing it, or you may have actors of color. Depends on who's in the actors pool. But it's open. We're trying to open it up, and it is going to happen August 20th through the 22nd of 2021. And it will be streaming live. You have to register for this. It's not expensive, because we're going to have readings. We're going to have films. We're going to actually have workshops, panel discussions, as well as a conversation with industry professionals.
Okay. All right, Michael, what are you working on next? What are you doing now? What's going on?
Okay. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just getting clearance before I say too much about the company. Okay. I've been doing a lot of work lately, as I said, with Brave New Classics. So we're getting ready to hold auditions for our next show, which all the information is on the Facebook page. If you go to Facebook /Brave_New_Classics, or just search Brave New Classics on Facebook, you'll find us. I'm going to be directing a show I'm looking at September-ish, a Susan Glaspell show. Thank you very much. And also, we're going to be moving forward doing a different project. What Brave New Classics has been doing has been strictly online, just streaming. Initially, it was readings. Now we're going into actual full virtual productions. But everything we do is public domain plays by playwrights, ideally of underrepresented groups, whether they're non-binary, non-straight, POC. We had one director recently do a couple of shows out of the Harlem Renaissance, and I've directed a reading of a play by a woman who was a big mover and shaker in the Irish nationalism and literature movement, and the beginning. I forget exactly when, but she was a contemporary of Yeats, but no one's ever heard of her except scholars. And we're always looking for directors. So we're going to be moving into doing like short pieces produced virtually. So you don't have to be local, but we're looking for directors. Especially when we're focused on like women and POC, but we're open to anyone. But it's all those public domain, because there's so many more playwrights to work with than just Shakespeare and Oscar Wilde. So we want to give them some bandwidth. And we'd love to
and
do some more Harlem Renaissance writers, especially.
I was in the first two plays that Brave New Classics did, and one of them was from a writer from the Harlem Renaissance. So yes, it was. I enjoyed that. Now, Miss Edith, who when I asked her what she did in theater, she started telling me about her online stuff, and I didn't ask for that then. Now go ahead and repeat it again and tell the people what you do.
Okay, because I thought maybe you wouldn't ask. But anyway, as a matter of fact, tomorrow I am going to have a virtual online production on Facebook Live. It's on Prolific Epic Partners. And it's The Show Must Go On. And the title of it is Artists Moving Forward. I have a singer. I have poetry because this is the month of National Poetry Month. And I'm going to have some monologues on there as well. I do it once a month, but it's on tomorrow on Prolific Epic Partners at 7:00 sharp.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Lauren, what have you got coming up?
Nothing. No. I'm going to take a vacation. No. Juan and I just took a field trip to Cape Fear Regional Theater, and we will be putting out a podcast. We interviewed a Tony Award-winning director, sound designer, who is doing some incredible sound design at Cape Fear Regional Theater. If you have not gotten your little hiney to Fayetteville, you need to be paying attention to what is happening there because there's some incredible theater happening there. So look out for that. I just interviewed the 5 Holocaust survivors that were featured in the Justice Theater Project film, Where Can I Go? So that podcast will be coming out to you. It was a heavy day yesterday. I had to do a lot of processing of that interview, but they have incredible stories to share. And coming up in May, all I'm going to say right now is that the relationship between me and Sesame Street are going to get a whole lot closer, which is how I grew up. I grew up on Sesame Street, and I had a favorite character on Sesame Street named Maria.
Oh, okay.
Maria and I might get a chance to chat in May. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be very exciting. More news will be coming out about that, but it's going to be a pretty incredible reunion special right there on Beltline to Broadway. But you guys, you got to vote for us. We are listed as nominees for some Indie Week awards, and you have till Sunday to vote. I think we're in the running for being nominated for best website, best podcast. So go over there and vote for all your favorites. But if you like the kind of programming we've been doing, vote for us.
Please vote for us. Please. We need your vote. So there you go. Okay. Well, guys, I thank you, and you will be coming back. You are on the list now. You are an alumni of Torn now. Alumnus. Alumni. Huh?
Edith? Can Edith do the show together? Can Edith and I be on a show together?
No. Never. No. This is y'all better talk right now. Y'all done. All right. And you know what? And my mama told me good night. So I'm gonna pray that my mama off when I say what I'm about to say. Hell no. Okay.
Oh, Lord. Oh, wow.
Heaven, yes.
Oh Lord. Anyway. Okay. So I am done. This was a fun
I'm
panel,
running
and
the
I'm
credits,
glad.
Juan.
I'm glad at the end that we could laugh, and actually all throughout the whole thing we could laugh, because that's what it's about, having conversations, not talking at people, talking to people. So I appreciate you guys, and have a good night, because it's time for me to get my beauty sleep.
And
Night,
good
night.
having you on, Michael, too.
Hey, nice seeing and meeting everybody.
Thank you
Credits are
all.
rolling.
It's a
The
pleasure.
credits are rolling. Yeah, y'all can still talk, but the credits are rolling. Now I need y'all to go somewhere and sit down. Now that's enough of y'all